It's Brutal Dan.
And it's Banana Chan. Welcome to the Spooky Asian Club.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Spooky Asian Club is your new favorite horror podcast where we slice into the intersections of Asian stories, horror movies, pop culture, and more from our creepy little perspective.
And in this episode, we are talking about the 2016 Japanese film Sadako versus Kayako and the 2003 American film Freddy versus Jason. But before we get into that, it's time to get weird.
Hey, Banana,
Yes.
what spooked you lately?
Well, me and my friend Danny, who is also here on this podcast, coincidentally, recently saw a movie called Companion.
Oh, heck yes, we did. Obviously, spoilers coming up for this companion movie. I went in completely blind. But for those who don't know, Companion is a 2025. That is the year that we're in. So it's a brand spanking new horror movie, sci-fi horror thriller directed by Drew Hancock. And it's about a couple and a group of friends that go to a remote retreat already set up in the middle of the woods somewhere for things to unfold in a dastardly way. In other words, murder. Murders. There was a lot of murder.
There was a lot of murder.
There was a lot of murder.
What were your thoughts? Like, I guess we're going to talk about the big reveal,
Yeah,
which
big
is
reveal.
the robots, the sex bots.
Robots. The sex bots. So I thought it was funny because I mean the name of the movie is Companion. Um and I didn't even think that, oh, this is a movie about robot companions, because everybody just looked human. But in this alternate reality, you can literally order, you know, the woman or man of your gay rights, gay representation in this movie. We
Yeah.
had Guillermo, we had Harvey Guillen from uh What We Do in the Shadows, among other things, in this movie. And I love that, like, the audience audibly gasped when he came
Yeah.
onto screen. Everybody was so excited to see him. But yeah, the big kind of reveal is that you kind of see this couple, and you kind of see this Sophie Thatcher, is that her name? Yes,
Uh,
Sophie Thatcher. So she was in Boogeyman and Heretic, which we also watched together last year.
yes, we did. We did see Heretic
I think
together.
we saw Heretic together,
Yes.
but she was
Yeah.
one of the girls in Heretic. But Sophie Thatcher, freaking, for me, kind of stole the show. But her character is like kind of, you could definitely tell she was anxious and just like very submissive in a way. But there was this voiceover of like her talking about love and the feeling of love, and you never really feel this type of feeling. And she talks about the day that she felt this, I don't know, this type of emotion. And she was like, you don't really feel it more than once in your life, but I felt it more than once. It was when I first met uh Jack Quaid's character. I forget his name in the movie.
Oh, Josh.
She said, like, I felt this when I first met Josh, and then on the day that I met Josh, and then on the day that I killed him. And you get that like right from the jump. So then you're
Mm.
just like, who is this character? So going in, I was like, oh, I identify with her. She seems like she's like a hopeless romantic.
Mhm.
And then you figure out she's one of these sex bots. She's one of these companion bots that Jack Quaid has ordered. And I don't know, that kind of threw me for a loop because she seems so human, which I think was kind of part of the reveal, is that like these new type of robots that you can order and program are so real, and you can make them, you give them memories, you program the memories. And the second reveal is that there was another robot that Harvey Guillen's
Yes.
character was also.
Lucas Gage.
It was so funny, and it was just, I don't know. My thoughts on the reveal, like, I really didn't see it coming because I only watched the trailer, and I didn't pick up on any sort of oh, this is going to be leaning sci-fi because if I'm not mistaken, one of the hooks in the trailer was from the minds or from the creators of uh,
Barbarian.
Barbarian, which
Yeah.
is a brutal movie. Like it is one of my favorite that came out in the past couple years just because of the storytelling and how bizarre it got. So I thought it was going to be something more like visceral and weird and like organic and less robot and uh robot and AI, artificial intelligence, and that type of play. But what did you
Yeah.
think?
I I think I knew going in that was about robots because of one of the posters that I saw where she had whited out eyes. Um, and so there was not a lot of there weren't a lot of trailers, but I think I saw like the few that were just like or the few little bits of marketing that were just like, oh, turns out she's a robot. So I think that sort of gave it away for me when I was going in.
Yeah.
Um, and it's sort of like as we were watching it, I was looking for like robotic things. And so there's this one scene in the very beginning where she is carrying two heavy bags of luggage and he wasn't. He was like just carrying like a small bag or something. And I was like, this is so fun. Actually, spotting all the robotic differences is like kind of fun. Um,
I didn't even notice
and
that. In my mind, I was like, oh, he's making her carry all the luggage. I hate this guy.
yeah, he's the worst.
He's the
Like,
worst.
why is she so into him? Girl, you could do better. Uh, and yeah, like I really like the subtle stuff that they added to the script, like, the part where she recites the weather. Um,
Hmm.
and at first it's like, oh, this is like a cute little thing, like, the whole weather thing, that's like very fun. Because Herb and I, we sometimes do that too. We're just like, what's the weather? And then we would just like look on our phones and pretend that we're the S word or the A word because I don't want them to hear, and then they're gonna start responding to me.
Yeah.
Um, and that was really fun. I really liked the idea. So what was really interesting to me was when she was jailbroken, her aggression went up, right? And that was like that was allowing her to do harm to humans. That was really interesting. And then when she finds out that she can adjust her own settings, that was also really interesting because there's this whole settings menu, and at the very bottom it says intelligence, and it starts off as 40. Like he basically sets her intelligence off as 40, and then she set it up all the way to 100. And I was thinking about this a lot with like, well, what does it look like with humans, right? Like, I don't think it's necessarily intelligence when when we're in abusive relationships. I think it's more like awareness, right? Like
Hmm.
awareness of how awareness and empowerment. I think those are like the two things where it's like, oh, I'm empowered to actually do something about my shitty situation. And so I was thinking about that a little bit as we were watching this, and of course, the I love Lucas Gage and uh, Harvey's like relationship. I think it was Patrick. Patrick was the one.
Patrick.
Um, like I really like their relationship because it just felt so like I don't know, like I felt so bad for Harvey. Just like he actually fell in love with a sex bot, but like it makes them happy. So like who's to judge, right? They're both happy. And that felt like really warm and moving and extremely sad when uh when Harvey died. Sorry,
I
that's another big
know.
spoiler. That was a huge spoiler.
Yeah, I mean, from that perspective, knowing that how tumultuous it can be just finding a relationship in general, but when you layer on a queer identity and
Mhm.
you feel like you've found the one, whether it's, a sex spot or not, or like I don't know. I kind of I understood it more from a queer lens than I guess an incel lens, which
Oh,
is
that's
good.
true. Yeah.
Because I'm like, you know what? Like we I feel like we don't know the ins and outs of this world, but
Mhm.
in a political landscape or in a more rural area, or there's so many different situations where you can find connections and um like real bouts of connection with, let's say, technology or social media specifically. And I'm speaking from like my own like coming out as like at points where it felt like I couldn't come out to my family or my friends yet. I did turn to the internet, and it was like this little device on my phone or my laptop where I felt the most seen. And I can see like I can see I guess the good side of things if you have to keep this type of stuff secret, but you still want to, I don't know, romance and have this connection with someone. So that was a surprising twist for me, that the more that I sat with it, I'm just like, there could be a situation in this world where this is someone's only situation.
Mhm.
Um, which I thought was pretty poignant, but then also it was the way that they revealed it was really funny, because we also learned that um the other two humans in this were doing it for money. So they pretty much conned a con man, this rich Russian mobster, I don't know, who was also an awful
A
human being.
sod farmer.
A sod farmer, something. Has all this land. They were at his place, and luckily our girl Sophie Bot killed him. What was Sophie's name in this?
Oh, Iris.
Iris. Look, we should have known. Iris backward is
Oh my God, the S word. Oh my
yes.
God.
Wow. The
Oh my God.
reveal.
This is
The
a huge reveal.
whoa.
Wow. Wow.
What was I even saying? Oh, the big reveal
Yeah.
was that like um they were doing all this for money, and um Iris had already figured out how to deprogram herself from the human world,
Mhm.
but then Harvey's character paused his companion and was like, what the hell, we need to split this millions of dollars four ways. And they're just like, no, three ways, like what the heck. And that was a funny like comedic part, because like
Yeah.
that really proves, I mean, in my eyes, I don't think like I don't think his character Eli, um Harvey's character, like I think he really saw his companion as like an equal, even
Mhm.
though it was a robot or whatever. I think in that
Yeah.
moment, like I don't think he did it for greed. I think he was just kind of like, yo, you invited us here to be like to witness all this and like to have your backs, like we need to split it four ways. So
Yeah.
I think that was like another thing too, that I'm just like, maybe this character is actually in love with a robot, which, hey.
Yeah. I think that one scene where Iris is hiding and you see Eli and Patrick off in the corner. It's not the corner, it's the middle of the woods, but like next to a tree. They're just like having their discussion. And uh Patrick, of course, knows that he's a robot, is self-aware, and Eli sort of like proves his love for Patrick. It's really interesting seeing like the parallel between like Eli and Patrick's relationship and Iris and Josh's relationship. I had to like remember what his name was. Um, because that like, we've been talking about this a little bit where it's like, okay, ultimately Eli still does have control over Patrick's settings, right? Like he has control over like his intelligence. his, a lot of things just like on his phone, assuming that they all have the same interface. And so it does raise the question of like how much agency does Patrick have? And I think that by the end of the movie, we sort of see that Patrick actually has like memories of Eli. And so maybe that love was true. It was like, it was real because um, by the end, Josh tries to reprogram Patrick, tries to like, uh, put him into this weird reformatted state where he obeys Josh. But eventually Iris talks to Patrick and Iris is just like, do you remember like all these things that had happened with you and Eli? Like you and Eli were a thing, like, you had like something real. And at that point it was like, oh shit, actually, like all those memories I had before, those were false memories. And it was actually, I mean, there were false memories to begin with. They're all just like programs, right? But like the initial person that he was with, the person that he had such an impact with was Eli and not
Hmm.
Josh. And I think that that sort of like made me think, now that we're talking about it a little bit more, I'm just like, oh, okay, maybe actually Patrick did have some agency. Maybe he
Hmm.
actually did really want to be with Eli.
Yeah. Yeah. So now that I'm thinking about it too, I think you kind of jogged my memory. So we saw Josh and Iris able to toggle both the intelligence toggle and the aggression toggle. But I think we might have only seen um Patrick's aggression toggle when Josh was trying to like make him into this killbot or whatever. But maybe in my fanfic world, Eli off the bat gave Patrick 100% intelligence, which does that mean now, Patrick has full agency and control, and even though he can't tell a lie, like that was it. That was another thing that kept being repeated is that Iris could never lie to Josh, in a way that was like very controlling. Like you can never lie to me or else. But
Yeah.
maybe in Eli and Patrick's relationship, the agency was there and they would, have full control of how they talk to each other.
I think actually you're right. I think that maybe, again, hypothetically, me speculating, I think you're correct because Patrick confesses that he actually knows that he's a robot. I mean, I don't think that at 40% he would have been able to tell that he's a robot. I think he must have been at like 100%, if not like at 90%, something like high, something pretty
Hmm.
high for him to understand, like, oh, I'm a bot. Like,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, and Iris was very surprised to figure out she was a robot because
Mhm.
Josh had to explain like the water reservoirs that her tears and her spit and whatever was like coming out.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. So Drew Hancock, if you're listening to this, we just want a remake with Eli and Patrick, and maybe it's just a romance.
Oh, I want that. Oh my God.
That
It's
would be
really
so cute.
cute. We talked a lot about robots. I
Mhm.
kind of want to get into ghost stories.
Mm. I feel like we've
I,
talked about ghosts every episode. I feel like we have to.
right? We kind of have to because we do have to wrap up all of the talk about The Ring and The Grudge and try to wrap up that conversation. But before we do that, um, I want to talk about a scary experience that you had that we were talking about a while ago. And I
Yeah.
kind of want to get you to share it with the audience if you're
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild because we went to me, you, and Andy. Um, we went to go see Roz Hernandez. And if you don't know who Roz is a comedian and performer. And she hosts a podcast that kind of delves into like this creepy, kooky, spooky, real life type of jump in to have people ever, felt a presence or the paranormal. And she was asking for audience participation. And I spoke up because like I don't necessarily believe in ghosts. Like I guess I wish I had more confidence that I did believe in ghosts. Because I feel like that would answer a lot of questions about the afterlife and what happens when you die and yada yada yada. That's not the point. The point is that I feel like I have been possibly in the presence of a unexplained phenomenon that is still so vivid to me. And this happened early 2000s, actually, probably when a lot of these movies were coming out. Like this was at the, Y2K break, like we're not going to get killed by technology, the world is not going to crumble. Um and I remember me and my cousin Leah, we were at home by ourselves, which is a big deal because normally we would have our older cousins. We're both the youngest, the two youngest of the family. So the thing is, like, again, I have someone that can corroborate this, which is wild. Anyways, we were at home using the family computer because that was a thing, a big, huge hunkin'. It was probably an HP. And this was when dial-up internet was still a thing. So normally we would only be able to use the internet when our parents weren't at home because when you use the internet, you use up the phone line, and my parents always wanted the phone line open, like just in case anybody were to call because we didn't have cell phones or anything. So parents are gone, older cousins were gone. Me and my cousin, we were on the internet, surfing, I don't know, chat rooms, just Neopets maybe, whatever. And imagine a bedroom. We're sitting in the corner of the bedroom. The hallway and everything is to the back of us, and we had a TV next to the door. Um, and these were like the old school TVs with the fat back that like, sticks out. So very 2000s coded. All of a sudden, we hear a crashing of something. We turn around, and what was sitting on top of the TV or like on the TV console, which again, I remember it was there because it was very vivid. It somehow made its way across the room and hit the window and like shattered. And what it was a CD holder. And for our younger listeners out there, I know you're learning about VHSs. CDs are compact discs. They look like
We have
smaller
to,
versions of vinyl.
we're gonna have to ask you to describe an ancient tech every single episode.
Every episode. But I remember because like I had Avril Lavigne, I had Linkin Park, I had Fall Out Boy, and these CDs were sitting in this CD holder that looked like a tidal wave. So imagine like a wave and then a spot where you can put it, and then another wave. So it like separates your CD out. And we kind of just look at each other because we know nobody is at home. We look around. We weren't like scared or anything. We didn't feel any type of way, but we were like, how did that just fly across the room? And I remember just like picking it up. We put the CDs back, and then we were just like, okay, weird. We went back to the computer, and then we heard the garage door open. And I think it was like at that point where it's just like, oh, we really were the only ones at home.
Oh my god.
And that was like, I don't know, it still sits in the back of my mind of like, how did that happen? Like I feel like if something were to just
Yeah.
fall off, it would have been right in front of the TV. How did it get like
It's
literally
flung.
it flung across the room?
Do you think it's your presence? Like, like, do you think, like, whose ghost is this? Who is this?
Whose ghost is this? I mean, we are in rural Georgia, Conyers, Georgia, for anybody that knows Georgia, Rockdale County, the second smallest county in Georgia. There's probably a lot of hurt there, honestly,
Do
on
you,
the ground that we built on.
had anyone ever died in that house?
This house was my parents built the house from the ground up. So
What?
we're the only people that have lived there.
Is it? I have no idea.
I
That's
don't,
wild.
yeah. And again, it didn't feel scary in the moment and didn't feel
Mhm.
like we were being attacked or like um anything along the lines of that. It's just like what happened to have that thing fly across the room?
Alternatively, could it be the CD holder that's haunted
Haunted CD holder.
and not the house?
I mean, honestly, we probably did buy that at like a Goodwill or second hand shop. Dang, I wonder if that CD holder is still in my parents' basement.
Could we do a seance? What if we did a seance?
I'm gonna go home next time I'm visiting my parents. I'm gonna get that, and
Yes!
we can hold a CD seance with Avril Lavigne, Fall Out Boy, and Linkin Park in the presence of this emo era to try to figure out what happened that day. Anyways, let's take a break.
Hey listener, this is Banana in the Future. Just wanted to give you a heads up that there will be spoilers for the movies that we're going to be talking about today. So, if you don't want to listen to any spoilers, then I would suggest that you watch the movie first and then come back and listen to the episode. Alright, back to the show.
All right, and we're back. So let's get into the movies that we're here to talk about. Sadako versus Kayako and Freddy versus Jason.
This is the most ridiculous thing that we're going to do. Sadako versus Kayako is a 2016 horror comedy written and directed by Koji Shiraishi. In the movie, a couple of college students finds the cursed videotape in an old VHS player and they accidentally get pursued by Sadako.
Oops.
Meanwhile, a high school student, Suzuka, begins to have bad dreams about a haunted house that's in her neighborhood, and she eventually also gets cursed by Kayako and Toshio.
Oops. So
Oops.
Sadako versus Kayako was made almost 10, 12 years after both The Ring
Yeah.
and The Grudge.
Yeah.
Um, 2016.
Hmm.
It had a 98-minute runtime, which I think is probably the sweet spot for horror. Usually I like it a little bit less, but
Hmm.
they also had an increased budget of 9.3 million. So I know we mentioned budgets before, especially with The Ring only having 1.5 million and then Ju-on The Grudge having 3.7. And now that I'm looking at my notes, um, Koji, the director, went also directed Noroi, The Curse. And I know you've mentioned that before.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love Noroi. It's
Yeah.
so good. It's terrifying.
Yeah. Uh, which we could maybe that's a foreshadowing of what
Yeah.
we might be able to talk about later. But what I loved about this movie was I know you said horror comedy.
Yes.
When I think of horror comedy, I think of Freddy versus Jason. And we will definitely talk about that later. But this one, I actually thought they put in a lot of effort with how to tell this story like cohesively and concisely with bringing these two kind of like non-canon angry
Mhm.
curses and grudges together. So I don't know. Like I didn't think I think it took it way more seriously than Freddy versus Jason, but maybe it was comedic. Was it comedic to you? I found some parts funny, but
Yeah. I mean, there were some parts that were funny, like especially the teacher who was obsessed with urban legends. I
I
found him
loved him.
hilarious. Yeah, he was
I
amazing.
loved him.
He was my favorite. I was very sad when he died. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think so. On Wikipedia, it's listed as a horror comedy.
Okay.
Um, and so, uh, comedy is subjective. And so I think that there were definitely comedic moments. Maybe that's what they were going for. I don't think that Ringo or Ju-on had many comedic moments.
Mm-mm.
This one had a few more. I would say that it had it sprinkled throughout. Would it be considered a comedy? I wouldn't consider it a comedy. But maybe there's like language barriers that we were
Mm,
missing. Maybe there's something that was like a little bit off about, the subtitles that I was watching.
mhm.
The subtitles I was watching, I don't know if you had the same subtitles, but whoever translated my version, um, remember that scene where they were doing the ritual, the seance?
The
Yeah.
exorcism?
Yeah, exorcism, that's the word.
Yeah.
I was like seance, whatever. But they were trying to do the exorcism, and the subtitles literally were like Expelliarmus and what's all the Harry Potter spells. Like, they were just listing off like Harry Potter spells as they were doing the exorcism. So I'm just like, this can't be right. This has to be a false
Maybe that's part of the
translation.
comedy.
It
Oh.
could, I don't know. Maybe it is. What if it's actually that? And
Then that would actually be kind of funny.
that would be actually pretty funny. Um, and I also think like the little girl and the psychic, like the adult psychic, like those two were pretty outlandish. I would say that they're outlandish and they were very silly.
Yeah. They
Um,
came out of nowhere.
yeah, and I tried Googling the characters because I thought like, oh, maybe they made an appearance in a previous movie that, I wasn't aware of. And these were like fan favorites or something like that making an appearance, and I can't find anything about them. Do you
I
have any luck?
No, I mean, so just for context for those that haven't watched it, which it is on YouTube.
Mhm.
You can find this whole thing with subtitles on YouTube, which is great. So, you mentioned it before, but you I love the callbacks to the movies if you've watched Ring or Ju-on The Grudge, like especially how they started off, like you still start off with like a social worker coming to visit
Mhm.
the elderly person, which was really harkening back to The Grudge. However, you see the social worker find a dead body of the person, and then the TV turns on staticky, very akin to The Ring, and then she just sits down and watches it. And then that's how the movie starts. So within like a minute, you get both movies of like, oh, okay, this is weird.
Mhm.
What's gonna happen here? And I still kind of love that um this might be reaching a little bit, but I do love like how the two storylines um kind of staggered a bit, and you were kind of following a few different, you followed Yuri and Natsumi, which is funny because it happens in modern day. This was released in 2016, and she wanted to burn a DVD for her parents. And I was like, in 2016, can't you upload it and then just have it on YouTube or something? I don't know. And they all had cell phones and stuff. And I thought that was actually a very comedic moment when the two schoolgirls happened to fall upon, this cursed tape, and they start watching it just for fun. And then Yuri gets a text and looks down while Natsumi is watching it. So Natsumi's the only one that gets cursed
That's
because
us.
that's us, like only one of us, because one of us got a text. I So maybe there was layers of like humor, like darker humor.
Hmm.
They also, something that I made note of right here is that they changed not just the Ring video.
Mm.
Like instead
Mhm.
of the well, you kind of see this like abandoned
It's like a
apartment
house.
house.
Yeah, with the door. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they kept repeating 2 days. So like the curse went from seven
Mhm.
days to 2 days, which, if thinking about it a little bit deeper, it could be a little more terrifying because that could mean Sadako has become even stronger in this weird
Mhm.
ghost realm. So now it only takes 2 days for her to kill you. And again, so I guess the more that I'm talking about it, they're kind of layering on this idea because even the professor mentioned like memes and the internet culture and like,
Yeah.
so it's like, and there was that one point where Natsumi was just like, you know what? If I'm gonna die, everybody else is gonna die. I uploaded this to the internet for everybody to watch. And it's just like, they're kind of taking the piss out of this modern day uh setting with something in the ring where it was a little bit more you know, step by step where you would have to make a copy of the VHS and then you would have to rewind it maybe and then put it in and like make somebody watch it. So maybe it was a comedy.
Yeah. And there was also that one part where I think it was, yeah, like that Sumi tries to hang herself, but it's like so low to the ground that she could have easily pulled herself up. Like I think she was literally like sitting down, like she was sitting down and she was trying to hang herself on the door. And it's like, but you're how does that work?
That's not gonna work.
Um,
Um,
yeah.
when you mentioned, so I know this all kind of came because you asked about Kaizo and Tamao, which was
Yeah.
the this now almost like anime like character. It felt like Yu Yu Hakusho, like this guy came out of nowhere, like this spirit hunter that knows everything and can like do like hand motions to like withdraw demons or something. And then this like kind of badass blind Tamao that can like just sense like, oh, you have a demon inside you. Like you
Yeah.
did that, like you didn't have to, but now you're cursed. So what of it? And I feel like it did take a while before we got that other storyline where
Hmm.
with Suzuka, and that storyline I felt like was a little bit less fleshed out maybe, but
Yeah.
thinking about it as well, it's so much easier for Sadako to curse someone um than someone walking into the psyche house and get plagued by the grudge, really.
That's
Because you kind of
true.
have to enter the house before Kayako can.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did feel like it was more Sadako based up until a certain point,
Mhm.
and then I loved it.
Yeah. And also when you mentioned the two anime characters, I
Yeah.
just realized something. During the exorcism, the exorcist, but right before she dies, she's just like, the money is under the shrine. You can find a box of money. I already prepaid this exorcism plan with the other exorcist, the more professional exorcist,
Yeah.
right before I die. So just give them the money and it'll be
Yeah.
fine.
That's so true. There's always money in the banana stand.
Right.
Um, but like literally, Yuri then like crawls over, grabs a box, and like opens it up, and Kaizo's like, "Oh, that's a lot of money. It's ours." And then it
Yeah.
just like moves on. So maybe there were kind of weird layers now that I'm thinking about it. But I did think it was like for me, it was still more creepy, I guess,
Mm.
more atmospheric, which that's something that I've grown to love about J horror, especially these type of movies. So I do feel like they tried to pay homage to that rather than being so slapsticky like Freddy versus Jason or like in your
Yes.
face. They still kind of had that like creepiness and like the things in the back that you were like, is that can I? And then jump scare. Um,
Yeah.
so I thought that was nice.
What did you think of the final fight between Sadako and Kayako?
I thought it was pretty brilliant what they did. So again, for those at home, after Natsumi dies, they kind of join forces because now the both of them are cursed. And now there's Kaizo and Tamao just here to save the day. But Kaizo is like, "Oh, I have a brilliant plan. Why don't you, Suzuka, watch this cursed video in the cursed house?"
Problem
And
solved.
then problem solved. We're gonna get these two icons to get after each other. When that happened, and Toshio, the other haunt in the house, gets
Yes.
grabbed by Sadako, I was like, oh
It's
shit, that's
over.
it. Like
Yeah.
they're about to fight. Like they're about to.
Yeah.
You can't just And then I was just like, it kind of gave me like both iconic scenes, and I'm just like, this is very well made because you see Sadako coming out of the TV, you see
Yeah.
Kayako coming down like backwards on the stairs, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I will say a lot of it kind of, I feel like they saved a lot of the budget for the end because in the haunted house, it was
Right.
very dark, and I feel like everything just kept getting pulled behind things where I
Mhm.
wanted to see them like tussle in
That's
real life.
true. That's true. And then at the
Uh,
end, they merged into a
yeah,
super, I don't even know. Wait, there was a name. They gave it a name.
they
The
gave it a
single
name.
entity, Sadakaya.
Sadakaya, which I thought was also again very funny. Um,
Yeah.
so again, Kaizo out of nowhere is just like, oh, that didn't work. Last case scenario, Yuri, I need you to sacrifice yourself into the well, and that's the only way. And I guess Yuri now feeling shitty that she's brought on this curse and whatever, she's just like, I'll do it. So she does it, and she falls into this well, and you see these two entities like go after her, and then they merge and they come out of this well. And I wanted more of that, to be honest.
Yeah. I wanted more because it felt kind of body horror in
Yes.
that moment. It
Yeah.
was like the two weirdo curses just like combining into a mega curse. And I was thinking to myself, like, there it's like the two regular human groups, right? Like the normal human groups were trying to combine forces to defeat these curses, but then you end up having these curses joining forces and trying to beat the humans. And I feel like that's what feminism is all about. Like
Yep.
honestly, because like you have these two badass girlies like just being like fuck this, fuck Yuri, fuck, you know, um the what was the psychics like both of the psychics,
Kaizo and Tamao.
Kaizo and
Yeah.
Tamao, like
Yeah.
screw them both. Like this poor little girl was just like freaking out. Um yeah, like
It's
they're
so
just like
true.
girl bossing their way into the big psychic energy.
Did you know there was an end credit scene?
Wait, what? No?
Okay, so there was, and I didn't learn about that until I was doing more research on this.
This is like a Marvel
So,
movie. Oh my God.
yeah. So, one, the end credit song, so good. I
It
don't know if you listened to
was.
it.
It was.
That's what the rabbit hole I was going through because when I was trying to get some notes on this, like I was like,
Mhm.
who is this band? And it's a Japanese metal band called Psychema 2, like Psychema
What?
dash II. And they do this song called The Curse of Sayana na 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 na. And it was so good. It was such a bop. But after the end credit scene, you see the VHS tape again of Sadako coming out. Um, and then you also see Kayako. So,
Oh my God. I
yeah.
missed it. I gotta rewatch this later.
Yeah. Yeah. So now that we talk about it, maybe it is a dark comedy. However,
Mhm.
when we set up this episode, I was 100% ready for like a scary movie, like type of slapstick humor like Freddy versus Jason.
Mhm.
Which, yeah, let's get into Freddy versus
Oh
Jason.
yeah.
Freddy versus Jason came out in 2003, and it's a horror slasher directed by Ronnie Yu and written by Damian Shannon and Mark Swift. And in this film, of course, we get our iconic slashers of our days. We have Freddy Krueger, who for me I think is the scariest because he gets you when
Yes.
you're asleep. He gets you when you think you're safe and cozy. And we
Mhm.
talked about this. We talked about if you tuck yourself in, nothing can happen, but he can get in here.
Right. You fall asleep and suddenly he's in your dreams.
And he's in your dreams.
Yeah.
And then we have Jason Voorhees, who is the iconic hockey mask slasher from Camp Crystal Lake,
Mhm.
iconic machete. And I actually like I remember parts of this movie. This came out in 2003. So this actually came out around the same time of like
Was it
the
Ring?
the Ring and the
Yeah.
Grudge around that same time. And again, these IPs were already established in, in horror. Like these are already
Mhm.
icons. So I don't I feel like this was like around the time of like American Pie maybe and like
Yes.
Anchorman and like these like very silly humorous movies and like you see tits immediately
Oh God,
and
yeah.
so it's like it was like very fan servicey and I think that's what I remembered the most. Uh but then on this rewatch I was like and I guess also if I was watching this when I was early teens I was
Mhm.
probably like what the heck is going on? Like what is
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. The interesting thing about Freddy versus Jason was that it had a lot of callbacks to previous movies, which was what I thought Sadako versus Kayako was supposed like that's what the characters were. Like I thought the characters of Tamayo and the other exorcist, I keep forgetting
Kaizo.
his name, Kaizo, thank you. Um I thought that Tamao and Kaizo were like callbacks from previous movies. And that's what we see in Freddy versus Jason. We see like callbacks of characters from like previous movies that have come here that are now trying to figure out like what's going on. Um, which I thought at the same time, I was like, oh, well, I'm sort of missing pieces here now that I didn't have with Sadako versus Kayako because I was just like, oh, okay, like, these are just tropes now. These are just tropes, and I'm along for the ride. Whereas, like, Freddy versus Jason, it's like, there's some past history. There's like, teen drama. There's
Yeah.
a lot of stuff with like, the the main character and her dad that doesn't really need to be explained, but it kind of does with flashbacks, because that would explain the relationship between like her and her love interest. And so I actually really enjoyed Freddy versus Jason. I mean, I enjoyed both movies. I didn't expect to enjoy both of them, but I
Yeah.
ended up enjoying both of them a lot.
Yeah. One thing I did want to mention is that Ronnie Yu, who's the director of this, was actually born in Hong Kong.
I was
Um,
just looking him up.
yeah. He also did The Bride of Chucky, which is pretty iconic too.
Yeah.
And then I looked up who this was written by, Damian Shannon and Mark Swift. They ended up teaming up 6 years later and writing the Friday the 13th reboot together as well. And I think there's actually a long history because again, the Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees, like these were two different IPs from two
Yeah.
different studios. So it's almost like fanfic up until a point where a company acquired another company and they could actually make this happen. But you can go deep into like Reddit threads and YouTube videos of like other pitches of what this story could have been.
Oh,
And then this one just happened to be picked and done. So we could probably do a whole other deep dive on that, but
yeah.
this one specifically had a budget of $30 million
Oh,
and um, some of the kills were brutal, and some of the effects, I was like, this is like some Matrix, some uh Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon shit. Like people were flying, jumping, like
yeah.
flipping, being thrown across. Which is kind of what I don't know why I don't know why I expected that from Sadako versus Kayako. Like I felt like in my mind, knowing that I've seen Freddy versus Jason, maybe I imagine like a fist fight between these two haunted girlies.
Mm-hmm.
And saying that out loud right now is kind of wild because that's not their gig, you know?
Right.
They're more like, I'm gonna curse you, I'm gonna do weird shit
Yeah.
to you. I'm not gonna slash whatever.
Yeah. Their
Uh,
branding is different.
the branding is different, and that's
Hmm.
okay. But as you said, I think there was like a lot of callbacks to some of the um well-known tr American tropes, I should say, with slashers. So you do kind of fall into this group of friends that has heard of this these serial killers or these deaths before.
Mhm.
And what I thought was really cool was that you jump into this movie knowing that Freddy Krueger is on a mission because people have forgotten who he was, and that means his power, like he doesn't have the power to kill anymore.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like a very interesting take on this because then now I'm viewing these two as like supervillains
Mhm.
and like they're like searching for their power and they're waking up out of something.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I was thinking the same thing because it was just like, oh, they're like trying to get back to what they once had. Like,
Mhm.
their heyday is gone. And, the 80s were like their heyday, right?
Uh-huh.
And now it's like fast forward to, what was it, 2016? 2016, or sorry, 2003. Sorry. I
2003.
got 2016 and 2003 mixed up. But it was like, fast forward 20 years later, 15 years later, it's like suddenly like they're going through a midlife crisis because they don't have what they had back in the day anymore. They don't have like they're not at their peak anymore. And
Mhm.
so what does that mean for a franchise? What does that mean for like the characters themselves? And it's interesting sort of like paralleling that with like, oh, like the franchise is older now. Like, what do we do
Yeah.
with this older franchise? And everyone's forgot, like everyone in the town, supposedly, except for the older people, the police officer has been there forever, like supposedly, and the dad, I guess. Everyone else has forgotten except for the people who've been in that town for a very long time. So what does that mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and Freddy Krueger's whole thing is that like obviously he goes into these dreams and then he can kill you inside of your dream and whatever happens in the dream happens in real life. But because Freddy Krueger's power or his like people have forgotten him, people don't fear him anymore. He was like, how do I leverage uh another iconic killer to to start deaths happening so that people may
Yeah.
bring up the fact that oh Freddy Krueger was a thing. So like Freddy used Jason like uh, kind of like resurrects Jason,
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
pretends to be Jason's mom
Yeah, and
ish
that
like
resurrects him.
and
Like,
resurrects him and then he comes back and he
yeah.
starts, typical slasher, like they're
Mhm.
at this party. Um, you see sex scenes and whatever. You see the douchebag. That first kill, I thought was really good.
That was a good callback to the bloody. Remember when Johnny Depp got killed in the first Nightmare on Elm Street? That was
Yeah,
a nice callback to that, I thought, because it
yeah,
wasn't like the bed thing. It was close. It was close to it. It was similar.
yeah, yeah. Um, and then over the time of these murders starting to happen because of Jason, people start talking about Freddy again. And then you can kind of see Freddy starting to get back his power because then he can start like getting into people's dreams, but what he does in the dreams don't affect them yet. AKA cutting off Kelly Rowland's nose when
Oh
she
my
was
God,
dozing
yeah.
off.
I
And
can't
then,
believe Kelly Rowland was in this
oh
movie.
my gosh, Kelly Rowland called me an F slur in this movie. Which honestly, I like this movie is a movie of its time, 2003. It was what it was. But within those, there was like a scene with Freddy Krueger going after Kelly Rowland's character, who is kind of like the ditzy bimbo, whatever character that stands up for herself. But literally, Freddy Krueger sees Kelly Rowland's character run away and he goes, dark meat.
Hers.
And then Kelly Rowland is like,
Uses an F slur.
it's like, yeah, what type of F slur walks around in a Christmas sweater like that? It's just like, what is this writing? But I was living for it. I
It
was
was
living.
like 2003
It was
writing.
2003.
My God.
Um, but all of that to say, this is the fight scenes between Freddy and Jason. I did think it was a little heavy-handed with like I feel like once Freddy was back to full power
Mhm.
and was like I super enjoyed the action of the fight scene, but they mentioned a few times like, oh, Jason died in water and uh Freddy died by fire. Maybe we can
Mhm.
use water and fire against them, which I'm like, okay, that's cool. It's kind of like polar
Yeah.
opposites, whatever. But there was a scene where I kind of rolled my eyes as like they were like going after it, slash, people flying across whatever. Freddy's doing really cool magic and like doing all this slashing, but then he can't get to the face because he has a hockey mask on. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And then something happens that like water starts pouring down
Oh,
and
right.
like Freddy could have literally just walked around the water to keep fighting, but he
Yeah.
sees like this water and he's like, I can't do anything.
Yeah. He's that terrified of water where he just like forgets that you can walk around things.
Yeah. So then Freddy makes a circle of water and then causes trauma, which I guess is kind of his MO. It's like,
Oh, yeah. And
making
then,
people scared of things.
oh, this was in the dream world. This happened.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Now I'm remembering. I was just like, how did he do it in the real world? But no,
Yeah.
this was in dream world. And then he reverts back to a child
Yes,
as a result of
exactly.
that. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember now.
Yep. And then that's when like they wanted to make sure that like they kept Jason sedated uh, until so they have this literal monster in the back of this van driving to Camp Crystal Lake now.
It was so
I don't
funny.
what was their reasoning?
Uh,
Were
the
they just
reasoning
gonna
was vague. It was like, okay, so they wanted to, they were debating between like, should we take out Jason first? Should we take out Freddy first? And I think they landed on we should take out Freddy first by luring Freddy into the real world. And so by taking him to Crystal Lake, he'll be scared of water there and they'll just drive off in a boat. But then Freddy has to be there as well, so that way Freddy and Jason can kill each other and or something. It's like basically they can escape.
Yeah. Yeah. That part for me got a little weird.
It was very unclear.
It was very unclear, and I also don't remember there was just like a moment where there was like touching that happened, and then all of a sudden Freddy was into the real world. I don't know.
It's
I don't
sort
remember
of,
what caused that.
yeah, I feel like it's sort of if we made a plan last minute for something to like if we were being attacked by Freddy and Jason, I feel like we would have made that last minute plan.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I didn't really wait, what how did Freddy get into the real world again? I don't remember.
Something bad was about to happen. So, um, what was the main girl's name? Lori? Was it Lori?
Yeah, Lori.
So Lori puts herself to sleep and like snuggles up against Jason. I do remember that. So that she could go into the dream world,
Oh, and help
help
Jason.
Jason, and yeah, help that way to lure them back out once she wakes up. So maybe she was touching Freddy and like pulled him out of the dream world because it happened so quick and I can't remember
Yeah.
what happened.
Oh, so Lori wakes up and pulls Freddy into the real world.
Yes.
And
Yeah, because
then, oh, right, because there was that one scene where um was it I forget if it was Lori or Kelly Rowland's character where one of them like grabs a handful of Freddy's like flesh and
yeah.
I think it was like his ear or something and like
Oh,
drops
and
it
the
in the
ear
real
came out.
Yeah, and then it
Yeah.
turned into maggots or whatever. And so that was when they were like, "Oh, we could do that. Like
Okay.
we can bring Freddy into the real world by dragging him into the real world."
By touching him while you wake up and you pull. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
very convoluted story
Yeah.
here, but everything else,
Yeah.
everything else kind
Um,
of makes sense, right?
yeah. One of my favorite scenes was the party scene where they were in the cornfields.
That was cool. That was really cool.
That was very visually appealing to me. Um, Somehow Freddy gets lit on fire, or sorry, Jason gets lit on
Yeah.
fire and starts stalking people, uh, and like macheteing them, but he's on fire and he's like leaving this trail of fire through the cornfields. And I was just like, oh, this is like very like I don't know, visually appealing to me. I'm like, when I
Mhm.
think of a slasher, this is like the intensity that I feel like it should have been.
I definitely feel like there were a lot of cool like visual things that people like the stunt people did with their bodies. Um, I wonder if that has anything to do with like Ronnie Yu's background with like martial arts and stuff. I thought there were like a lot of like really cool scenes, like paralleling Jason's cool scene in the cornfield with the fire. There was a cool scene with Freddy like leaping out of the water at Camp Crystal Lake. Like it was like several feet above the water before like landing on the dock, which I thought was really cool looking as well.
Oh, dang. And we were just talking about the water and the fire.
Right.
Wow, because Jason can't be killed by fire, so he's walking around, and Freddy can't be killed by water, so he can jump out the whoa, the layers.
Good.
Maybe
So good.
this movie made some points.
Yeah, this movie, it's art.
It's art. Uh, so I do have to ask you, and it's gonna be a hard question, but going back to Sadako versus Kayako,
Ooh.
which team are you on?
Which team am I on for Sadako versus Kayako? You know what? I think so. I think Kayako's kind of an underdog, and I like the underdog, and I want Kayako to win and have a good life. I mean, she'll never have a good life because she's a curse, but it's, but I'm Team Kayako, I think. What about you?
I think I'm Team Sadako. I know that I feel like
Oh,
that's the popular opinion.
yeah.
But I feel like I
But it's
don't
a good
know.
opinion. It's a
It's a
good
good
opinion.
opinion. I feel like you can't go wrong, but if
You
I had to
can't.
choose, I would be Sadako. All right,
Yeah.
what about Freddie and Jason?
Oh, I love Freddy. Like his quips are so bad. Like they're just like really like dad jokes. They're like dad jokes. And but his kills are so good. Like the really weird surreal dream sequences are really good. So I like Freddy. What about you?
Yeah, I am also a Freddie fan. I think I mentioned it earlier, but it's just like the idea that, like, I feel like at some point, physically, you can run away from most slashers, even if they're supernatural. Like, you can run away from them because they're kind of lumbering, or you can hear them and stuff, and you can, like,
Mhm.
whatever. But, like, yeah, Freddy, the way that he can manipulate anything because it's in his dream world. Like now that I'm thinking about it, like do you remember that one scene with the character whose brother had died and everybody didn't believe him, and Freddy entered his dream and his brother was in the bathtub filled with blood, and then he used like blood bending to grab, which it might have been a callback to another movie. But I just thought I was just like, holy cow, like he doesn't even need his little scratchy claws. He can control blood and make like grab your feet with blood tentacles and like kill you that way. I don't know.
Yeah.
Freddy's pretty badass.
Freddy's scary.
Freddy is scary, and honestly, like if you think about their origin stories as well, I mean Freddy is pretty gross,
Yeah.
and Jason is just a sad boy, and I want to protect Jason.
Even if he wants to
Even
murder
if he wants
everyone.
to slashy slash.
I have another question for you.
Uh-oh.
So, we've been talking about fanfic a little bit. This is all
Uh-huh.
just like fanfic made into reality. Sadako versus Kayako versus Freddy versus Jason. Um, which of the two would you pair up with one another? Say if you had to like pick either Freddy or Jason and put them in a movie with either Sadako or Kayako.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Huh. I thought you were gonna say like which one, if you put them all four, which one would win? Which I will ask you that after I think about this question you asked me. I think it'd be so interesting if Freddy and Sadako somehow can infiltrate the world
Ooh.
in both a dream state slash visual state, or like you have to see something and hear something. I don't know. I feel like there's something there where it's just like in this alternate universe, if they ever teamed up, the first thing that kind of came to mind was like people that use white noisemakers or like use technology to sleep. And like I feel like there could be something there where it's like they can, I don't know, they can curse and torture you in so many different layers. Whereas again, I feel like if I were to team up Jason and Kayako, if you don't live near Jason and you don't live near the cursed house,
Yeah,
you're
they're very location specific.
yeah, you're kind of safe, you know? Um, I think it'd be interesting if, let's say, Kayako used Jason in a way that like lures, like he he scares people towards the house and people think that house is a safe haven and it's not because then Kayako can get
Oh.
him. So I think there could be cool crossovers either way, but I think my gut
Oh.
feeling is like this whole like we watch TV, like we're on our phones by the time we try to fall asleep. There's something there where there's like the curse being passed through like watching YouTube videos on your phone, and
Mhm.
then Freddy appears and then you make a vlog about it the next day of like, hey, this is what I saw, and that like passes on the curse without you knowing it. I don't know. I feel like there's something there.
Oh God. Yeah, that would be like infinite curse.
Yeah, it just keeps going.
Yeah,
It's what
I can
Natsumi
see that.
wanted to do, just spread the curse everywhere. But then this time
Right.
it happens when you sleep too.
Yeah, this is Natsumi's fault, honestly.
But yeah, I have to. So if it was truly the statement of Sadako versus Kayako versus Freddy versus Jason, Battle Royale,
Battle Royale. So I think that I think it would have to be Sadako. Um, and the reason for that is that so neither Sadako nor Kayako sleep because they're curses. So it's impossible for them to have bad dreams because they just don't sleep. Um, and they're not corporeal, and so you can't really slash them. So when it comes down to the four of them in a room together, and we've seen this happen with Sadako versus Kayako. Kayako kind of got her ass handed to her. I'm not going to lie. Sadako sort of was the winner here. Um, I think that Sadako would end up on top over all three of them.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I think if Kayako was not like, I feel like Kayako just needs a little more life experience, world experience, because she's
Yeah,
stuck in that house. She only knows how to kill one way.
that's so true.
Where
Yeah,
Sadako gets to kill so many different ways with so many different people, and she
yeah.
just moves on to the next one. And then Kayako's just sitting there waiting with her poor brother.
Oh,
So
that's
I
really
think,
sad.
yeah, my gut
Yeah.
feeling when I was asking you that question, I was like, maybe Kayako, because like Kayako is literally the embodiment of like anger and like I feel like that fuel of hatred could like kill
Yeah.
anything. But then like it's just like I could stand at the front door and she couldn't do anything.
Right. You just don't have to go in.
Just don't go in.
Well, I guess in the other movies, she did travel, or was it Toshi? I guess Toshio traveled a little bit.
That's true. And we saw with the security guard too, we did kind of see
Yeah.
Kayako. So who knows?
So maybe just don't know anyone that's ever entered a haunted house. Like, don't make friends with people that go to haunted houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on that note, let's take a break.
Now for the part of the show we're calling Slaughterboxed. We've tasked each other to find some funny, weird, and potentially unhinged reviews on Letterboxd, and we have to guess what star rating is left with that review. Feel free to play along at home.
Yeah.
So, Danny, would you like to start?
Yeah, let's start with Companion. That was the first movie we talked about. So again, the star ratings are between 1 to 5, and you can use half stars. So anything between 1 to 5 using halves. Okay, so the first one, um, this is from Suzeki Paikoksi. Yeah, that just looks like a whole bunch of letters mashed on a keyboard. But that review says, dudes say they want a freaky girlfriend, but when that girlfriend is actually freaky, suddenly it's a problem. 3 question marks.
Oh my God, that's so true though. Seriously. Um, I love Iris. Uh,
I love
this
Iris.
this sounds like a positive. Honestly, I would say 4 stars.
Close. It was 3.5.
3.5. Okay.
Three and a
Okay.
half.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine. It was close
Not too
enough.
bad.
Not too
All
bad.
right. Second one. This one's from Greedo Z. Men will literally get anything from Amazon before trying to go to therapy.
It's so true. Oh my God. And he was such an idiot too. He didn't realize that like all of it was recorded. Like, come on. Read the
Yeah.
user disclosure statements. Um, I'm gonna say 4 stars for this one.
2.5.
2.5. What? Why do people hate this movie? It was so good.
Maybe because they feel attacked because men will literally do anything. Maybe it's too true for them. Who knows?
Right, right, right.
All right. This one's from Marvelou with the way that you spell that is Mervelleux. Marvelou.
Okay.
Marvelou says, I support women's rights and wrongs. In parentheses, the fact that she's a robot doesn't change anything.
I'm I still want to say 4 stars. Eventually, I'm going to get a 4-star review. Is this 4 stars?
It's 4 stars.
Yes!
Yay!
Ah, yes.
And then the last one, this one's from the Film Tripper. They say Terminator, but for the girls and the gays.
Oh, that's a nice review. I'm gonna say 5 stars.
That's a 5
Oh
stars.
my God,
Wow.
yes.
Good job.
Thank you. I'm actually doing a little bit better this time.
Yeah.
Uh,
You're starting to understand the unhingedness of Letterboxd reviews.
I'm starting to get it. It's so unhinged. Are you ready for Freddy versus Jason?
Yes, let's do Freddy versus Jason.
These were also very unhinged. So the first one I have is Freddy Fazbear versus Jason Derulo from Adam Bolt.
Those are the wrong Freddys and Jasons.
Yes, those are completely wrong.
Okay, let me try to analyze this. So, if you go into this movie thinking this is Freddy Fazbear, which is kind of scary, has a horror franchise, and then mega pop R&B star Jason Derulo. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I
Is Adam Bolt a fan of the Freddy Five Nights at Freddy's franchise or Jason Derulo?
oof, the Bolt has a sense of humor. Um, I'm gonna say this is a 2-star review.
Oh, you're really close. 2.5.
Frick. I didn't want to give that half.
So close.
So close.
The next one we have here is from Blue, and they say they should have kissed here.
Oh, true. Well, so it did end up kind of happy where Jason walked out of the water with Freddy's head. Was it out of the water?
Yes, I think so.
Did Freddy help Jason get over his phobia of water?
Oh my God, actually, that'd be really cute.
Oh, he's holding
Honestly,
his head and he gives it.
that's actually kind of cute.
I'm gonna say 4 stars.
It's 5 stars. It's very close.
Dang it.
It's
I
very
thought
close.
so I took away a star because there wasn't a kiss. Dang it.
Right, yeah. When they say they should have,
Should
like,
yeah.
yeah. The next one is from Comrade underscore Yui. Top 10 best anime fights.
Truly. I think that means they enjoyed the fight scenes, but they might not have enjoyed getting to that because it did take a little bit for them to fight.
Mhm.
In top 10, they didn't say top five.
Do you remember that scene where Freddy was basically using Jason as like a pinball, like in the
Yeah.
pinball machine? That was like, yeah.
Um, I'm gonna say this was a 3.5.
You're so okay. You're very close.
Is it the
It was,
halves?
it
The
was
halves are getting
three.
me.
It's three
Three.
stars. Yeah,
See, last time I didn't add the half, this time I added the half. All right.
yeah. Next one is from Alexa with a bunch of emojis. There's a jellyfish, a bubble, and a disco ball emoji after their name. And they
Okay.
say, you want me to spend 5 nights with Freddy? And Freddy's in all caps, like a question mark, and a third question mark.
Another Freddy Fazbender stan. This is wild.
Freddy
Uh,
Fazbear,
Freddy,
like Michael Fassbender. Stop
that
it, Michael Fassbender earlier.
that's what it was. Freddy Fazbender. Freddy Fazbear. Michael Fazbear. Michael Freddy Fazbender. Um, I'm starting to think these are Gen Zers who love Five Nights at Freddy's. And they didn't mention Jason at all. And I think they rather watch Five Nights at Freddy's or watch people play Five Nights at Freddy's. So I'm gonna say this is a 1.5-star review.
2.5 stars.
Okay.
You're thinking in the right direction.
I know. Oh well.
These are
What
hard.
can you do?
These
What
are
can
really
you do?
hard.
All right. I know we split the last one together for Sadako and Kayako, so I will go first. And I promise I did not leave this one, even though I did mention it. But Plork says the end credit theme did not have to go that hard.
I really have to watch this end credit. Oh no, the end credit theme, the song, not the end credit scene. Okay.
The
Um,
song.
the song. They're talking about the song and nothing to do with the movie. Okay. Okay, this is a hard one. I'm gonna say 3 stars.
3.5.
Oh, it's always the halves.
That's always the half. All right, this one comes from Mallory, and she says, That's what you get for trying to pit two bad bitches against each other, TBH.
That sounds like a good review, honestly. I want to say 5 stars.
4 stars.
Ah, that was
4 stars.
close.
Yeah, I guess they liked it enough, but it's
Right.
also like you can't just keep doing that to two bad
Yeah.
bitches.
You can't have it all. Um, okay, so the ones I have here, this one's from Lucy, and they say, girl, whatever, and then 2 crying face emojis.
Um, which, which crying face? Like the
Like the
stream,
the stream.
the stream. Okay,
Yeah.
so lots of crying. Girl, whatever. Are they saying that's like whatever as in like I hated that or like whatever I'm scared now that there's Sadakaya? Um, my gut feeling is to say this is a 2 star review for two sad faces.
2.5. So
Those
close.
halves are killing me.
Seriously, this is hard. The next one is from Mark Walhooter. Uh, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Walhutter.
Wall hooter,
I'm so sorry.
wall cooter.
But they say, this is my Super Bowl.
True. The top two.
Mhm.
If this is their Super Bowl, they must have really enjoyed this. This is a 4.5 star review.
It's 2.5.
What the heck? Maybe they
I
hate
know.
Super Bowl. That one was a plot twist. That was a plot twist one.
It was confusing. Mark uh,
Wall cooter.
Walhooter is a confusing person.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Spooky Asian Club. Don't forget to like, rate, and subscribe, and share this with a vengeful ghost or a supernatural slasher.
And until next time, we hope you win if you're pitted against your rival.
Bye.
Bye.
This episode of Spooky Asian Club was edited by Marcus Mays. Music was provided by Artlist. Spooky Asian Club's logo was designed by Andy Crisp, and the sustained life of this podcast is made possible from our creepy little Patreon members and listeners like you.